The behavioural bow tie. How do we change behaviour? The crazy thing is, everyone talks about behavioural safety and changing people's behaviours and how difficult it really is. And it's probably because when we're focusing on changing people's behaviour, we don't have a model which allows us to think about behaviour in a useful way. We always focus on the wrong side of the behavioural bow tie. We always focus on what people have done wrong. We say to somebody, I want to talk to you about your behaviour. The instantaneous response is, oh no, what have I done? So why is it that people automatically assume, because we're focused on their behaviour, they're going to get a hard time? Well, rewind the years back to when you were a kid and your mum or dad said, behave yourself. They never actually said whether it was good or bad. You automatically assumed it was because of the tone of voice and often what comes next. So let's consider how organisations influence people's behaviour on a day-to-day basis. Well, the first thing they focus on is catching you doing something wrong. But consider how this really works. When you're driving your car down the local roads and you see a speed camera, what happens to our driving? Everyone jumps on the brakes and slows down to make sure they're doing the speed limit, which is a really good thing. Clearly that makes us all safer drivers. But most people will recognise, how long does the change last for? How long do we actually stick to the speed limit? Well, bless them, they've put lovely little white lines on the road so we know how long to change our behaviours for. And what happens next? We put our foot on the accelerator and off we go at the same speed we approached the speed camera just before we noticed it. What does this teach us about how negative experiences change our behaviour? Well, clearly in this case, it only works when it's real and now. We can see it, it's going to happen, and it's definitely going to happen to me. So we change our behaviours. Our challenge is this. If we've created our safety culture using the same policing approach, people only behave the way we want when we're watching them or auditing them. Whether I focus on positive or negative experiences, they don't seem to work as well as they should. Consider this. Your boss steps into the room one day and tells you you've done a really good job. On the inside, you might glow a little. But at a conscious level, you say things like, what does he want? Where's the but? It's like we're not even wired to accept praise in the UK. We're not used to it because we're not good at it. So focusing on the right-hand side of our behavioural bow tie and focusing purely on the experiences people will receive, good or bad, right or wrong, doesn't seem to have a long-term impact on changing our behaviours because neither of them are real and now, and we're definitely not practiced at receiving positive feedback. So to really truly change behaviour for the long term, we need to consider what's going on before we behave. Not what we'll experience afterwards, but what drives our behaviour from a thought process point of view. We need to think about what's going on the inside. What really makes somebody tick? If we focus on the behaviour itself, we tend to get forced behaviour. It's hard work. It makes people do what they think we want them to do, not what they should do. We really need to focus on what's important to them, what it means to them, and how it makes them feel. So let's look at the left-hand side of the behaviour bow tie. What creates our thinking? What we need are some fundamental simple principles that help us understand how to influence thinking on a daily basis. So let's start with a simple model that we call mindset. Mindset is really the glue that holds all our experiences together to create all of our current behaviours. unless we have a model for understanding our mindsets, then talking about behaviour without considering our conditioning, our beliefs, our values, our attitude, our feelings and emotions, we're really just focusing in the wrong place. Once we have a structure for understanding our mindsets, the next thing to consider is how the mind actually works to create this wonderful thing called a human being. How does the mind operate to create our behaviours on a daily basis? And the mind mechanics is a great visual image that allows us to get inside our heads and see how it generates behaviour. How we do force behaviours, the things we don't do naturally, the things we do when people are watching versus the real you behaviours, the natural you, the you on a good day when no one's watching you work. Once we've understood our mindsets and the mechanics that drive our behaviour, we need to recognise that these two processes create some triggers that drive our behaviour. Simple things like allowing us to drive to work without even realising where we've been, how many roundabouts we've crossed, and how many lights we've been through. How human beings can do things without thinking. Why we're great at spotting opportunities to save time and energy and take shortcuts. And finally, how we never see ourselves getting hurt. We call these the triggers that create unsafe behaviours, that happen as if by magic, without us even thinking. Having understood our triggers, the last part of the jigsaw is really truly understanding how we communicate with each other. What is the true meaning of communication, and how well do words actually land? So now we've discovered that changing behaviour requires us to do more than just focus on what might happen if the person keeps getting it wrong. You've probably realised now there's more opportunities to change behaviour from the left-hand side of the bow tie. And in the next digital clip, you'll be taken through a model called the iceberg, which helps us create a structure for understanding those things we call mindsets.